We start the 3 lines from the beginning of that second section, because that's what the hezbollah of the Sinyan. The Rebbe says, in order to understand the principles of Ein Sof and Ein Tchila, or Yesh Sof and Yesh Tchila, we have to go and first understand the difference between Oyer and Shefa. Both Oyer and Shefa are representative of the mokir, of the mashpia. Oil comes from the etzem, and so is shefa. But there is a principal difference in how this hashpah comes. So the first difference that I'm pointing out is that in shefa there is an actual transmission of something of a tangible kind, something that is identifiable on its own, that is being transmitted from the mashpia to the recipient. So let's start with it. And again, we have to focus in on each one of these words. These are not just an allusion. Kuf Lamed Aleph. Third line from the second side, top of the second. Hashpah hazdaka me'osher lioni. The hashpah hazdaka. Zdaka means that he is trying to give him. He's doing something that is of meaning, a good thing, so to speak. I'll go back to this in a second. And it comes me'osher lioni. To introduce the whole inyan from Hashefa, Hashpah, I want to remind you, we spoke many times the difference between a malamed and a mashpia. And the difference is, a malamed teaches what he knows. He happens to know this, and you don't know it, so therefore he's teaching it to you. It is not something that is of his make, and it so to speak, it relates to him. But as mashpia is something that he had digested internally in himself, and his mashpia as a result of that which he himself had already lived through, and is giving, so to speak, of his life, of his sense of the truth. This is what mashpia is. So when there is a meaning for hashpia, and it comes tzedakah me'osher lioni, from the wealthy to the poor, so if it comes to tzedakah me'osher lioni, the oshir, it is true that the oshir has, as you said, he has this resource, but he is also an oshir, which means that mentally he is an oshir. It is not just that he has possession. but his whole personality is such that he is an Osher.
Osher is a rich man.
Osher means a wealthy. Anoni means a poor. And this is where the hashpoah hazaka comes. He is bestowing the tzedakah to the oni. Along with that, he is giving him the sense that is coming from an osher, that there is such thing as an osher, that an oni is not the only state of being. And in order that this hashpoah should actually express this union, it has to be, as the Rebbe says on the fourth line, Shemahus Dovor Nishpa V'Nimshach. That something of its own reality is being nishpa and being bestowed and it's nimshach and it's drawn. In other words, in effect, he's giving in an element of what makes an osher. Yes, it is an unlimited fashion, but nevertheless, he's giving him of that which of the ingredient that builds what an osher is. The similar in Megashmi is water is drawn from place to place. So this hashpoah amayim shachas amayim mokim mokim. The hashpoah zu, where this hashpoah that the water is drawn, peyelas shinui b'chisorim b'hamashpia. It affects a change and a chisorim even to the extent of chisorim. It reduces that which a mashpia has. As the waters are being drawn, these waters that were drawn are now chaseri, are now missing or reduced from the place where they were drawn. The point over here is not so much the chesed. The point over here is that he's giving him of that which constituted his own being. The osher gives him tzedakah. That is what makes the osher an osher. And the proof of it is that yes, indeed, it affects his own status, his own possession.
Yes, indeed, it affects. It reduces his wealth by $1.
That's right.
Okay.
The point is that he's giving him of his own reality. He's giving an element that by him is defined as ashirus.
But is that always the case when an Osher gives
What?
tzedakah?
Is that
Is it always the case when an Osher gives tzedakah to Ani that he gives from himself, or it could be just he gives him money?
He gives what?
Is it always that he gives from himself when an usher gives, or could it be the case that he just gives him money?
Where does he get the money from? I don't understand.
Yeah, but what was explained that the Osher is not just giving him money, he gives from himself, from his attitude as an Osher. Is this always the case?
I don't understand the question. The Taich, Osher and Oni, and the Osher takes money and gives it to the Oni, what does that constitute? The Osher is taking from his Ashirus and giving to the Oni.
Yeah, but was explained it's not just that he gives him the dollar. He gives him the attitude of becoming a Osher.
He's giving him from his own Ashirus, from that which makes him an Osher. And of that he gives him. Right now the emphasis is that it's dover, that that is a Dom Mamoshi, that is giving him something of reality. What is the reality? That which makes the Osher an Osher.
I think I know when he refers to yesterday, you spoke about the grace of the rich man. That in the word grace that you said, there is the idea of a nice attitude.
I'm pointing out that we have to try and learn the way things are being presented to us, because this is where the message is coming. Why is the Rebbe Giver saying the Osher Leoni? It could be an Oni also gives tzedakah. But when Zohar comes by Osher Leoni, this is it has a special implication. We'll see how this develops now.
This came after the mashal with the water.
Yeah.
And
So far, the emphasis in this mashal in Shafa is that he's giving him of a substance.
got it.
And the proof that it's a substance and that it actually is reducing that substance from the source. וכמו כן בכוחס הנפש. Here it's a little bit more subtle, and here we have to be. This is where we stopped. We never had a chance to fully elaborate, fully understand this. B'koches hanefesh, thank you. The koches hanefesh that are able to accomplish by as a koyach. Ukmoy b'koyach haziriko. As for example, in koyach haziriko, the ability to throw. Kishezoyrek even lemaylo. The real emphasis, the real show of force in Koyach Haziriko is when he's able to throw a stone lamaylo, upwards. A stone can be thrown upwards, a stone can be thrown laterally to the ground. But here, the Rebbe says the moshel that I'm focusing on is on the zrika is lamayla. He is throwing the stone upwards. Why choose the Indian from throwing the stone upwards? What's the difference if you throw the stone laterally? The difference in this Indian is when you throw the stone laterally, the stone essentially remains in its own domain. The stone belongs on the bottom, on the ground, and you are just moving it from place to place. When you throw it upwards, there you see the koyach of the mashpia. Because the whole Indian that the stone can go upwards is innovated by the mashpia, by the thrower. As far as the stone is concerned, he doesn't know that there is an upwards. The stone, we already mentioned it one of the times that we learned this. The stone only knows bottom. He doesn't even know that there is an up. The up is introduced to the stone by the thrower. So what happens there when you throw the stone upwards? Harinivda v'nifrash. So there is something separating. taking away memhus koyach hayad from the essence, the reality of the koyach hayad hamislabish b'ho'even, and this koyach hayad is imbued and embraces the stone, v'noisoi l'mayla, and it carries him upwards. Let's finish the couple of lines that the Rebbe explains it. Why do we say that this force that carries the stone upwards had been separated from the hand? The harei, for behold, hazriko, excuse me, the throw element, he takes place le'achar sheyotzev min hayad. The zrika is after that the stone leaves the hand. When you move the hand with the stone upwards in any direction, the stone has not been thrown. You moved it. Mm-hmm. This is clearly still in the hand. When you let it go and it flies on its own, this is when the zriko begins, which means then you have mashpia, the movement into the heaven. Now the heaven moves on its own. Because of your hashpah, the heaven moves on its own. Not only moves on its own, but it moves on its own upwards. In other words, you have given it a new perspective. Then it can fly upwards. This is all coming from the hand hazoyek. And this koyach hazriko that invented, as far as the heaven is concerned, the phenomenon of going upwards, has now come away from the inventor's hand, and it now becomes part of the stone, and the stone continues going upwards. So this is a completely different, and we started in the beginning, a completely different view, a different way of understanding the whole phenomenon of the stone flying upwards. Yes, sir.
What's koyach zrika? Like I thought it's koyach tenua that you're employing to effectuate zrika.
That's right. So this is what I explained before. This is why the Rebbe gives a motion zrika l'mayla. Why zrika l'mayla? When zrika laterally is also a zrika. Because zrika l'mayla is something which is innovated in the stone. The stone does not have that aspect at all of flying upwards. Moving from place to place on the ground, that's part of the stone's domain.
But the koyach hazrika, it's called koyach hazrika before. Like there's not every phenomenon that the human being can effectuate. We say there's a specific koyach for that phenomenon, or like zrika is like something different. It's not koyach tenua. I can move my hand and then if I.
That's right. It's not the koyach tenua. It's koyach hazrika. The koyach hazrika is not merely a koyach tenua. The koyach hazrika, just as we had before in the case of tzedakah, it says me'osher leoni. What's the difference me'osher leoni? Tzedakah is the dollar. No, the me'osher leoni speaks of the fact that the osher has a completely different view of what the dollar is. The same is koyach hazrika. Movement is all part of the world. The fact that the human being can throw and detach it from its source, This is a different. This is a different quality. This actually defines a human being independent of the world. The whole thing that he can think of throwing the sun upwards is something which attaches that he is independent. This is, it seems like, as I said, oversimplification, but this is the Pshat Hashpah. He's giving something that only he possesses.
This is bringing something different from the Asher Va'ani.
It is similar to the union from Moshe Yoni, but it's not different.
It's not.
It's not different, except to understand this, you first have to digest the Moshe Yoni, then you can translate it in Koyach HaZrika. Koyach HaZrika will say is clearly is a Koyach HaTnuah.
I'm just wondering what we should hear inside it. In that the Rebbe did bring this as a separate mashal. I'm just wondering.
I explained right before I introduced the whole thing that Hashpah has a special meaning. Hashpah is something which denotes a unique ability of the mashpia rather than the chitzonius of the Tanua itself. Like I said, difference between a teacher, we have Malamed and Mashpia. Malamed is teaching you what it says in the book. Mashpia is the one who digests it and feeds it into you. And points out, here, this is what you should pay attention to.
Wait, now I don't know if that clarified for me. So now the mashpia is illustrated by these mashalim or not yet?
Yeah, we have Mashpia that the Asher Oni, Asher is a Mashpia to the Oni.
Really? I thought Asher Va'ani was in contrast to Rav Talmud. No. I thought they were different paradigms. Asher.
No.
Okay.
Because it continues on.
Okay. Because, but just to get back to where we started was Orva Shefa, and it seemed like we were inside dealing with Shefa, namely quantifiable entities. He gives $1, it's the same flow of water. Masha Einken, seemingly, Rav Talmud, he gives something of something of himself, which is not diminished by him. No.
But Rav Talmud is also giving him something of substance.
But not quantifiable, and it's of his etzem, which is not reduced.
1 second. What is this atzmi? The atzmi is that he took this learning and he internalized it.
Yeah.
And he related it to actual life, not just a point of knowledge.
Yes.
That's when he becomes mashpia.
Yes. And now when he sits with his mushba, what he grants him is some kind of new insight, a degree of light, not shefa. That's what I was thinking.
Shefa.
Shefa, okay. But again, it's not quantifiable, right? It's a shefa had to do with.
He's showing him. He's showing him how this which I'm teaching you is a life element. This is not something to remember. This is something to delve into and find it in yourself.
Yes, and there it seemed to be so much in contrast to the teacher model or the ashir or the river.
No.
It
Ashir
was quantifiable. The 3 times table, the flow of water, the $. Masha Einken, the mashpia.
1 second. No. You're taking it too far. Every one of these mashalim is pointing to the principle of Hashpah. There are different levels, different levels of depth, clearly. But the first thing of Hashpah, the Rebbe says, that is giving him of substance.
Okay.
What substance? This substance is what constitutes the source.
Fine. And when you just said a moment ago different levels of depth, does that point to how we're going to go from shefa to or? Because we seem to be contrasting what is shefa versus what is or.
No.
Okay.
These are two different paradigms, I could say, two different lines of hashpah.
Okay. Thanks.
We shall see in a minute. Okay. I remember how far I read. Everything was read already 17 times.
Yeah.
All right, let's start from the fifth line. Shefa Yami, Shifas Mayim. What is the emphasis over here? That there is a substance that is being transferred. Hare atzeh mehuz hamayim, nimshachim mimokim l'mokim. That what's given him is not I have water, but I was giving him of that which I possess. The hashpah azu, where therefore this hashpah, b'yela shinoi v'chisonim mashpia. Excuse me. It affects a change and a shortening and reducing the mashpia. The point over here is not the reducing, the spirit is lacking something. The point is that it was taking of the material, the mashpia, that makes mashpia, and from that it was taken in Yishma.
Okay. Just seems so different from the mashpia Talmud example. You light one candle from the first candle is not reduced. The mashpia is working with his Talmud, the mashpia is not reduced.
Right. The principle of reduction is to show that something of substance is being given.
Something definable, something limited,
Something of
a
substance.
limited resource.
Well, limited is an argument. The point is something of substance.
Yeah.
When you light a candle from another candle, that's not in that category at all. Let us go through the presentation in the Maimon, and then we can bring our own perspective. First, in translation of the words, the emphasis so far is that something of substance, and the substance is that which makes a source into a source. This is what's being transmitted. To the extent that which is being transmitted has been taken away and reduced in the source. Now, in the case of water, it's reduced. In the case of money, it's reduced. In the case of Keich HaZriko, it is not necessarily reduced, but it's taken from the Keich HaZriko, separated from Keich HaZriko and put into the stone. Let's try and understand this. The stone is a very important element to discuss, because this is completely different than the way we see it from the physical world perspective. Harenivda v'nifrash b'zeh, by the throat upwards, is separated mimhus kehayad al ho'evan, from the substance, from the mahus. Mahus means the reality of the kohen hayad, what the hand possesses to throw. Of that ability to throw is separating from the hand and is being bestowed upon the stone. Shemakifoi, and then this koyach makifoi embraces it. V'snam temarum mikol tzad, it embraces it from all sides. Shalidei zeh, whereby hu noise l'mayla, thereby he is able to carry it upwards. As I said, each one of these words is a cause for us to focus in. Why does Rebbe mention that makifoi mikol tzad? Because when you're talking about carrying the stone upwards, you have to change the whole perspective of the stone. The stone is something that belongs on the ground. He doesn't even know that there's an upwards. In order for the stone to acquiesce, so to speak, to go upwards, he has to be detached, completely change his whole paradigm has to change from being underground and being independent of the ground. To become independent of the ground, he has to be completely embraced by something which is of a different ilk, of a different nature than what its nature is. This explains why the Rebbe is emphasizing Shema Kifim. It surrounds it, embraces it. Let's discuss a little bit. Touch on it. Throwing the stone upwards. I'd like to finish at least one point. When you throw a stone upwards, as we said, in the worldly view, you throw the stone upwards, it's just a kick. Here we're saying no. To throw the stone upwards is not just a kick. It is something which is actually embracing the stone, giving the stone an element that the stone doesn't possess on its own. You're innovating something. You're giving the stone the sense, yes, he can fly, there is an upwards, he can fly upwards. This gift of flying upwards is not it's not the same stone that lies on the ground. The stone has now been embraced and been put into a different environment completely. This is what the Rebbe emphasizes all this point. And this is why we're defining it as the koyach separating from the hand and going into the stone. Not as we interpret it in the Gashmizik world, that the stone remains a stone. And it flies as a stone. So the Rebbe says, no, this is not the way we look at it. And I explained why not. I mean, that explains the flight. Like you said, the inertia is what makes it fly. So the point over here is, that's why Rebbe makes a point that is throwing upwards. But for the stone to fly upwards, this is a different reality. In the stone, that reality doesn't exist. The stone belongs on the ground. In order for the stone to fly upwards, truly fly upwards, not just refractorily in apparent, but it actually made the stone fly upwards in a true sense, to the point where it again continues to fly. He has to give the stone a totally different perspective of its own reality. How is that affected? That the koyach hayad separates and it embraces the stone and says, "You are not now in my possession. You're not on the ground. Forget about the ground." This is the meaning of flight for a stone, and this is why it's called mashpia. He's giving the stone a completely new, non-existent reality. That reality comes from the koyach hazarik in the hand, in the person. Like we originally said, this is Priyas koyach hazarik is koyach hatnua. The Rebbe says no, koyach hazarik is koyach hazarik.
Which is being brought here to bring out another facet of hashpah.
This is a moshel for hashpah.
Okay.